we looked at this big empty yard out here and we thought, gosh, when I was a kid, my father was planting a garden like crazy. We had all kinds of great food, strawberries in the spring and rhubarb sauce and, big ripe tomatoes that we, ate in the summer and stuff like that. So we started planting and realized that, gosh, this is really economical too, because, a packet of seeds is maybe $2 or $3 and it just creates one packet creates a huge amount of food. We're now in the first week of March, and the garden is kind of looking like death warmed over, with a few signs of life. This is a time when the rhubarb is starting to come up, and last year's Swiss chard, and we're also seeing some of the greens that we planted last year are reviving. So before they go to seed, we'll actually be able to pick and eat some of our arugula and kale and collards and mustard greens and those things. So actually we really like this time of year because we can start eating things immediately. Otherwise, even though it's spring, we're kind of waiting. So what we do first in this time of the year is start thinking about what we want to eat and cold weather vegetables and where we're going to plant them. And I would start removing the debris or the dead plant matter from last year. I heave the soil a little bit with my fork spade. That means just putting the spade in the ground and giving a little pull to sort of aerate and loosen it a little bit. And then I dust the area with a 1/4 or 1/2 inch worth of compost, and I work that compost into the soil with my stirrup hoe so that the garden bed is ready for planting. I scavenge the neighborhood for things like things that will make compost, and those are brown materials like leaves that fall in the fall. We collect, we steal the bags off the curbs that people put out, and we run them through a grinder and keep those in a trash can for composting later. I found that it's even more convenient to like just go to Home Depot and get a bale of straw, because that keeps very easily in the garage, and that can also be ground up and used as mulch and eventually compost. And then we collect the coffee grounds from our local Starbucks. So I'll take my hand truck down there occasionally and wheel like 50 pounds worth of bagged up coffee grounds back to the compost pile and use that. We visit a riding stable where we collect horse manure, and then all the vegetable scraps that we generate in our kitchen, and sometimes shredded newspapers and bank statements and things like that otherwise we would be sending to the landfill or to the recycling. We shred and put in our compost. With this industrial agriculture system that we live with, I think we've really gotten off on the wrong track with food, where we're so focused on creating or duplicating the recipes we see on television and magazines and whatnot. So our whole approach to food has been to walk into the grocery store with this list of ingredients that we need, and it kind of doesn't matter what season it is, where the stuff is coming from, and we may have to go to 3 different stores, but gosh darn it, we want to create that recipe because we saw Jamie Oliver making it on TV. And when you have a garden like this, it changes your whole attitude toward food, because, well, number one, you don't have to shop as much for food because you're growing it yourself, but you also learn to orient yourself to the seasons and what's ripe and edible in your garden at that point. So instead of looking for recipes and trying to duplicate what other people are doing, we're actually a lot of times making our own recipes out of the stuff that's available. Gosh, we have eggplant and okra, tomatoes, onions. What can we do with those things? And all of a sudden, we come up with this eggplant, okra curry stew with coconut milk, and it turns into a really great dish. So it's takes us to places in food that we never would have imagined or been before.